Slide 1. Hi, my name is Cara Balabowski, and this is my project on South Africa's health and nutritional state. Slide 2. Here we have the overview. South Africa is a large country with much more cultural groups than just 12, but there are 12 nationally recognized with 11 official language. It has a very high percentage of Black people in it. This is interesting due to the fact that white people own 72% of farmland. There is quite a difference in nutritional status between Black and white South Africans. It is a fact that Black people in South Africa have lower fat, protein, and micronutrient intake. Here we have eating style and food culture. In South Africa, it is very normalized to eat with your hand. You eat with your right hand, as that's seen in the culture to be the cleaner hand. There is a very big hand washing culture in South Africa, and with the insertion of colonization and white people, utensils have been more frequent. What about eating style and food culture? What a day looks like in South Africa. Typically, the average South African, which in this case would most likely be in a rural area of South Africa, and they would more than likely be Black. In the morning, you would have bread and tea, usually either five roses or rooibos, which are very frequent teas that are had. For lunch and dinner, pap, which is a cooked cornmeal, also known in other places in Africa as nshima or ngusi. That along with cabbage, some other green vegetables, sometimes with beans. If you're rich, you eat it with meat. And that can be for lunch or dinner. In South Africa, people often eat together. Some cultural groups that I mentioned, like the Xhosa, men eat separately from women and children. It's also very often to see children eating together from the same plates and bowls. Food is very important in weddings, funerals. It's a coming of age ceremony for babies. It's a traditional practice. It's important for people. It's part of people's connection with their past. Here we have prevalent health issues and illnesses. Children often come down with severe cases of diarrhea. Malaria is quite frequent, pneumonia, as well as both HIV and malnutrition, whereas adults face similar issues such as HIV is common for both, but adults tend to also have tuberculosis, also known as TB, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, respiratory hypertensive diseases, as well as influenza and pneumonia, such as children. It's important to note that within the current political climate of the United States, foreign aid has been discontinued to South Africa, which means that an increase of these diseases is more than likely expected. Here we have connections. So we see on the diet side sugar, sodium, fat, fiber, nutrients, processed foods, and food insecurity. Now, how does this affect and connect to health issues? Well, increased sugar intake can lead to diabetes. Increased sodium and fat intake can affect your cardiovascular health. Not getting enough fiber deeply affects your digestion, and obesity deeply affects your digestion, which in turn can affect obesity rates, thus increasing them. If you don't get the right nutrients, your body isn't immune to the same things it used to be, which can increase the amount of pneumonia and how you're able to fight off other things like HIV and influenza. Processed food affects all of these issues, as it's less nutritious, less fiber, has increased sodium, increased fat, and sugar. And all this relates back to food insecurity, which increases malnutrition, and again, everything else as it relates to nutrients, fiber, sodium, fat, and sugars. Now, the impact of globalization on public health is a great one. There's been a great change in diet. The introduction of fast food, Western eating habits, which would be portion control and the amount of processed foods we eat, have affected public health in South Africa, as more processed food, bigger portions, and fast food mean, as we mentioned on the other slide, an increase in fats, sodiums, and other issues that can lead to things such as reduced immunity and obesity. Socioeconomic disparities are also showcased in this, as the poorer you are, the less choices you have in what food you eat, meaning when processed food and more Western fast foods are promoted and cheaper, that's what people reach for, when in fact those are affecting their health in negative ways. This relates to food insecurity and shows a clear line in history of most people being farmers to most people being laborers, meaning there's less people growing their own food, growing their own nutrition, and meaning that they're going to stores more often and buying fast food and processed foods. My proposed solutions: improving the access to healthy food through both agricultural grants and food reform in schools. Food reform in schools would allow people to not only connect with their cultures again, but to have a place in which kids can go to get healthy, nutritious food, which will affect not only their education, but their ability to take care of themselves and allow them to understand more. Agricultural grants would mean that more people are able to plant and grow food for each other, allowing better nutritious value. De-incentivizing processed food by increasing the tax would again aid in this, because less people buy fast food, less people buy processed food, no more bagged food, less microwavable food, which would in turn again affect people's nutrients and intake, reducing fat, which would affect underlying issues. Another big solution to this would be improving nutritional education. This could be through social media, TV, councils in villages. People need to know what's going on so they can know what to fix. Lastly, there's the underlying issue of poverty. This needs to be addressed and changed, as if you're poor and you don't have the money to afford healthier food, then you have no way to fight this issue and you don't even know that there's an issue at hand. These are my proposed solutions. Here are my references. Thank you so much.